welcome home.
Thank you. Did you miss me?
I did miss you. Did you have a good trip?
I had a great trip.
Yeah?
It was fantastic.
Give us just a little snippet.
Well, the highlight was certainly my daughter's team winning the gold in their acro.
No way.
So they just did amazing.
Aquayanis for the gold.
The Aquayanis for the gold. They brought home, my daughter brought home a silver in free team and a gold in the combo routine. And the team did great, brought home medals in, I think, every category we entered. And then we had a great time just seeing Budapest and Vienna and Prague and just traveling around.
Nice friggin' job. I understand you were just telling me before we started that as you were traveling around Prague, you guys would see different buildings and things that they might not know. And you just took out ChatGPT, took out a photo, used AI vision, and then it would tell you all about it.
Yeah, it was so fun. Like we walked past this little memorial and we were like, what are those hands? And it took a picture, or I took a picture, and it immediately told us it was a memorial to the Velvet Revolution, which happened in 1989, and the hands represented peace because it was a peaceful revolution. And I think the kids were like, Taya, why'd you bring your mom? Like, she's weird. But the adults, I think, tolerated my injecting a little bit of history into our wanderings around Europe.
That's awesome. You are the co-host of a AI podcast, so I think it makes good sense. And it's interesting, right? Like how easily, there's no learning curve with this stuff. It just, if you remember to do it, it's just there, and it's quite easy to kind of integrate into your daily activities.
Yeah. Even when we were sitting at the meet, there were 23 different flags, and the parents were trying to figure out which flag was which. And there was one we had no idea. And again, they're Googling all the flags and scrolling through. I'm like, I just took a picture of it. ChatGPT told me it was Hong Kong and we're done.
We're done.
It's fun.
I love it. Good. Liz, did you do a lot of drinking on your trip?
No, remember, I don't drink.
Oh, that's right. So I actually have a solution to your drinking problem.
What drinking problem?
The problem that you don't drink.
Oh, Matt.
But we need an 11 Labs sound effect here. So it's funny, actually, Liz and I both don't drink. It's all for whatever reasons. And Liz loves Coke. I love seltzer. But there was a new study that just came out. One of the professors was from Texas A&M University that said that people who were heavy users of AI at work had increased drinking.
Is there any conclusion as to why that is?
It was something like they're working a lot and they're socially isolated and less human connection. But here you are roaming around Prague and Budapest, AIing all over the place,
Yeah.
AIing all over the place. That's funny. And apparently it didn't lead you to a bar.
It did not lead me to a bar. No increased interest in consuming alcohol. I just keep using the AI, and I think it's making my life easier. Maybe less driven to drink.
Yeah, so there you go. We are the ChatEDU co-hosts are a data sample of 2, lots of AI use, no drinking. I'm Matt Mervis.
And I'm Liz Rade.
And this is ChatEDU, a podcast about AI in K-12 education. In today's episode, What a Character, The Secret Life of Character AI and Teens, will explore the wildly popular, with the youth, Character AI platform and how the approach might be leveraged for AI in K-12 education.
But first, in the news, Matt will put more nails in the coffin on AI content detection for now. Oh, and he's going to go on a semi-random tangent on custom bots. It's interesting, but I am forewarning you.
Nice. Then Liz will return to the Program for International Student Assessment, which is appropriate because she just got back from her international travels, and a new study about a critical skill in the generative AI age and the somewhat underwhelming performance of U.S. students on said skill.
And then we'll go beneath the surface as we look at how Character AI has grown to become one of the largest and at the same time most underreported AI platforms for teens. And we'll end with another short stack chat back.
So Liz, we're returning to a topic that we've covered a few times now, which is all about AI content detection. And I can actually tell you when. You want to guess why?
Because you have an encyclopedic memory for everything we've discussed in the last 17 episodes? I mean, you're known for your memory. If I recall correctly, we discussed your memory in an episode called Total Recall.
Yep, very true, though you had a pretty good context clue on that one. But no, it's not my encyclopedic memory that has allowed me to tell you how many times we've discussed AI content analysis. Most recently, by the way, in episode 8, we talked about Abbott Elementary's reference to content detectors and how in the show they falsely characterize them as always being accurate. All right, so I've been playing around with the new Claude Pro, which has a feature called projects. And so like a project is like a custom GPT where you can upload documents and then ask in natural language questions about the information contained therein.
Oh, thank goodness. I was really getting worried that we were going to stop talking about custom GPTs. I didn't want to say anything, but honestly, I was worried if you were really doing okay.
Very cute, Dr. Rade.
Well, the good news is that now apparently you can call them custom GPTs for ChatGPT, and they're called projects for Claude. So anyone who is playing the When Will Matt Reference Custom GPT's drinking game can have a double now. What a relief. I will say, I think I like the term projects better than custom GPTs.
Yeah, I agree. And, like a custom GPT where you create your own custom bot for a particular purpose and feed it your own information, projects with Claude kind of allows you to invite collaborators. I know I sent one over to you, so folks can work together on a project. The other good piece of news is that they kind of hallucinate or make stuff up a little less often, like less often, but not perfect.
All right, so do you have an example?
Yeah, so I built a custom GPT and a Claude project that are basically identical. It's the same thing. These bots have every script and every transcript from the last 17 episodes from our podcast. So when I want to know that we've talked about any given topic or some cross-cutting themes, I can use the custom bot.
Aha, so that's the secret for how you remember, let's say, every time we've talked about AI content detectors or your exceptional memory, for instance.
Yeah, precisely, Dr. Rade. The bummer is that they don't always get it right. I mean, I will say that Claude's project bot does a much better job than ChatGPT's custom GPT for our ChatEDU library bot, right? But it's still kind of lame that they struggle so badly with data that's uploaded directly to the GPT or project. I did actually remember that we discussed my theoretically advanced age, but nonetheless my pretty good memory in our Total Recall episode. But I was curious if Claude remembered. So I used the ChatEDU project on Claude that has it's got all of our scripts and transcripts loaded. And I said, in what episode did Matt and Liz discuss Matt's exceptional memory? It felt a little weird talking about myself that way, but it's okay. The Claude project basically fumbles, right? It comes up with this mishmash of stories that don't really relate to the topic. And what's interesting is that when I gave it some additional context, it got better, right? I said, how about when Liz makes fun of Matt's advanced age about how his memory is still good? I mean, here's Claude's response as voiced by 11 Labs.
Thank you for pointing that out. I apologize for missing that reference earlier. You're correct. There is a specific mention of Matt's memory compared to his colleagues. In the Beneath the Surface section of one of the episodes, likely episode 15 based on the context, Liz says, Matt, despite your advanced age, you're typically pretty solid when it comes to remembering things, and you often tease your younger colleagues that we're all in trouble if you are the one with the good memory. And note, his younger colleagues don't seem to have great memories. This quote directly compares Matt's memory to his younger colleagues, with Liz humorously noting that despite Matt's advanced age, his memory is typically better than that of his younger coworkers. Thank you for helping me locate this specific reference.
Okay, some of that is correct, but I certainly don't think it was episode 15. Seems like it was a lot earlier than that.
Correct as always, Doc. So here's what I said next to our pal Claude. I said, do you want to check that episode reference? I suspect the episode is actually about memory or recall, right? So then Claude comes back with this.
I apologize for the confusion, and thank you for encouraging me to double check. You're right that I should verify the episode reference. Let me look more carefully through the document. After reviewing the content again, I found the correct reference in the episode titled Total Recall, Why AI Memory is Key. This makes much more sense given the context of discussing memory.
Sometimes the fake humility is too much. It's even more unsettling when you hear it vocalized, as we are here with 11 Labs. We'll remind ourselves and everyone else that this is just statistical pattern matching and next word prediction from the AI-based prompt, do you want to check that reference? And all the "I apologize" and "thank you for encouraging me" is 1,000% engineered to make you feel like you're engaging with a sentient being. The good folks at Anthropic, who make Claude, want this human-like experience to, one, feel compelling so you keep coming back, and two, in this case, they use this type of emotional manipulation to make you feel some sympathy or like identify with the bot.
It seems like someone got triggered here, but yeah, I agree. It's weird. And we'll either develop the habit to clock it or it's just going to become integrated into how we deal with these things.
Well, I'd say we're losing that battle fast. I just saw a research study titled "Folk Psychological Attributions of Consciousness to Large Language Models," published in Neuroscience of Consciousness.
Oh, yeah, I have that one on my bedside.
Yeah, I know you do. Their survey basically showed that 2/3 of people feel that AI has feelings and emotions. So I guess that ship has sailed.
This is not good. All right, well, in the meantime, I continue to be confused by why they tend to get things wrong at a higher rate when there's actually a local document or documents that they're pulling from, right? In this case, the ChatEDU library of scripts and transcripts is what they had as a reference. So curious minds want to know. And I asked Claude, why do you think this happens, right? In theory, you're using your, I'm anthropomorphizing the AI, but we got to talk. So in theory, you're using some type of fine-tuning here where you have the source document and the information, and yet you tend to hallucinate. And here's what Claude said.
You're asking an insightful question about a key challenge in AI language models like myself. You're correct that in theory, I should be using a form of fine-tuning to accurately reference the source document. However, the reality is more complex, and your observation about hallucination is spot on.
Ugh, more sucking up.
Yes, totally. But the answer is kind of interesting, right? So here's what we're going to leave 11 Labs here for a second. I'm just going to sort of share the results of this interaction. So Claude says a few things. First, imperfect retrieval, right? While I do have access to the document, my retrieval mechanism isn't perfect. I might not always pull the most relevant information, or I might miss important context. I like the next one. Overconfidence. This is a good one. Even when I'm not certain about a piece of information, I'm designed to provide coherent, confident-sounding responses. This can lead to stating speculations or inferences as if they were facts, Liz. Right? It also says that it fills in the gaps, right? So where there's gaps in retrieval information, I tend to fill them in based on patterns in my training data, which can lead to inaccuracies. A lack of understanding, like while I can process and generate text, I don't truly understand the way humans do. So here it's being honest about its non-sentient qualities. And this can lead to misinterpretations or incorrect associations. And finally, the inability to distinguish, right? It says I don't have a clear mechanism to distinguish between the information from the provided document and information from my training data, which is really interesting. I mean, I would think like, okay, the data's here. I'm just asking a question, just pull from that data. But we're in a state where that's not really the case. So it's pretty interesting. We've speculated about a future when teachers and professors can train custom bots on their own local data, their class notes, their rubrics, their lessons, and so on. But until this piece of the pie improves, it's going to be hard to move beyond the current state with all its limitations.
So just to make sure I understand, you're saying that even though we give it the scripts, it's still using information beyond the scripts
Exactly.
that it's been trained on, so it doesn't stay just looking at the scripts.
Yeah, it's like we have to say, bad AI, just look at the scripts. But that didn't work either. I tried.
Oh, that's interesting that still didn't work.
Desperate times.
All right. Well, this has been a fascinating, albeit long, sidebar, but your tease up front was about AI content detectors. So why don't we talk about that before we spend the whole episode perseverating on the current limitations of custom bots?
That's funny. Folks will remember from a couple episodes ago that I said Liz has high ethical standards and low patience. And so here again, but she's totally right. That was a long sidebar, but I hope it was useful and interesting. So there are 2 new studies out in the last week that simply reinforce something that's pretty well documented, which is that it's just very hard for both humans and AI content detectors to know when writing is generated by AI.
Right. We've talked here about how AI content detectors often have false positives. They tend to flag non-native English speakers at a much higher rate, and that when students do what students do, which is prompt the AI to adjust text outputs for length, level of sophistication, or say even throw in some random spelling errors, that the detector's accuracy goes down by as much as 25%. So while it might be nice to have a text solution, we just don't at this time.
That's exactly right, Liz. So these two new studies, and we'll put them in the show notes, look at this from the other side, not the content detector, but the ability of human beings to accurately spot AI-generated writing. Okay, the first is from a higher ed setting, and the second is K-12. But let's start with the University of Reading, right? Researchers at the University of Reading conducted a study in which they, the researchers, submitted AI-generated exam papers created using ChatGPT-4 to their own professors. So it was like kind of when IT sends out secret test to see whether or not you're going to click on a file. We don't do that here, but I know a lot of districts do. These papers were largely undetected. So the researchers sent them out to the professors, and 94% of the time, the submissions passed by the professors as genuine student work. Moreover, the AI-generated answers not only evaded detection, but they also scored higher than average on those written by students. So the experiment highlights the significant concerns regarding academic integrity and the potential for AI to be misused in educational settings.
So that's interesting. So we're not talking about content detectors, as you said, but rather can human subjects tell when something is written by AI? And 94% is not a squishy number. That's basically a solid no. Human professors can't detect the work. Do we know anything about their perceived ability prior to the study?
According to the readout, the success of the experiment surprised many of the professors, highlighting a pretty significant gap between their perceived ability to detect AI-generated content and the actual effectiveness of their methods.
That's really interesting. I've spent a lot of time with teachers, and some of them are extremely confident that they can detect AI-generated work. Oh, it's so easy for me to tell that that it's been written by a student. But that discrepancy raises a bunch of questions about the integrity of coursework and the effectiveness of existing assessment strategies. So what's the next study?
Yeah, and actually, before we go to the next one, it is interesting because we talk about this a lot from an equity lens, right? I continue to be convinced that the kids who are getting caught using AI are students who are like the middle, right? If you have like an AP level and then a college prep track, it's the kids in that middle level, or an honors track and then a CP. It's the middle level kids that are getting caught because they're not as effective at either rewriting the content or prompting effectively or going back and forth. So yeah, it raises some real concerns. All right, so the next study was titled, Do Teachers Spot AI? Evaluating the Detectability of AI-Generated Text Among Student Essays in the Journal of Computers and Artificial Intelligence. It's published on Science Direct. We'll also put this one in the show notes. So, Liz, I don't have to tell you. It's basically the same findings. In this case, they looked at both pre-service teachers and more veteran instructors, and they were focused on 11th grade essays.
All right, so same idea, overconfidence in their ability to spot it and significant underperformance in their actual spotting it?
Yep. Exactly. Though I don't know. Underperformance is kind of funny, right? It's a little harsh. Like, I think this number is more than like 70% that got past them without being identified accurately, as opposed to the nearly 100%. So is that underperformance? It's basically an impossible task. So we may need to really think about how we characterize this, but the finding is that both the AI content detectors can't do this, but human beings can't either. And as the tech CEOs of these AI companies say all the time, the current AI is the worst AI you'll ever work with, right? They love that phrase. But if using the worst AI will ever work with 94% of these AI-generated pieces of writing are not being detected by professors, so getting to 100% seems trivial.
So were there any recommendations from the study authors?
Yeah, they were a bit more assertive about what needs to happen next. There were a range of recommendations, but the most potent is that we simply need to mix up our assessments. Certainly, we can improve the ethical understanding of students and try to help teachers get better at spotting stuff, but again, this seems like an uphill battle.
Sounds more like Sisyphean. But on mixed assessments, when folks feel ready, head over to skills21.org/prompts and click on curriculum and then find the durable activity review prompt. It's a great way to take a writing-based assessment and explore ways for students to show what they know in other ways besides writing.
Amen, Liz. Amen.
All right, Matt, we've talked about the PISA assessment before, and today I have some more info and an update. So the PISA is the Program for International Student Assessment conducted by the OECD, and it's administered to students all over the world every 3 years, and then is used to compare countries to each other, compare progress over time within their own countries. The test assesses 15-year-olds across nations, regardless of what grade they're in, since we know different school systems have different grades. So in 2022, the PISA was administered. It was supposed to be 2021, but, there's global pandemic thing.
Stuff happens.
Yeah, it shifted it a year. So I just read the PISA 2022 results, Volume 3, called Creative Minds, Creative Schools, and that was just released in June, and it takes a deep look at creativity. So the 2021 PISA assessment is interesting for a variety of reasons, but two things really stuck out to me. So first, this is one of the only tests that can give a really good comparison of students pre- and post-pandemic around the world. So this assessment found some honestly not so surprising data regarding the impact of the pandemic. The report basically concluded that the COVID-19 pandemic had a significant impact on education, causing unprecedented declines in student performance across the OECD, particularly in reading and math. While school closures and remote learning posed challenges, the report highlights that the decline in performance cannot be solely attributed to the pandemic, since there were already some negative trends in some subjects prior to COVID-19. It also notes that countries with shorter school closures and better remote learning support managed to mitigate the impact more effectively. So this is all pretty consistent with what people assumed would happen. So that's the first part. But the 2022 test assessed creativity for the first time, and that's really cool.
Ooh, I'm like on the edge of my seat. Why is it cool, Liz?
So it evaluated students' ability to generate, evaluate, and improve ideas. So creative thinking is highly valued in the workforce and essential for adapting to the digital and AI-driven future. It also enhances learning, cognitive skills, emotional development, resilience, and well-being. So this assessment included tasks situated within 4 distinct domains: written expression, visual expression, social problem solving, and scientific problem solving. So these are kind of diverse types of everyday creative thinking for 15-year-olds. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples of tasks.
Okay.
So for written expression, the students had to caption an image or propose ideas for a short story or write a dialogue for a movie. There was an example where they were given like the title of a movie and they had to write 2, not just 1, 2 very different ideas for that movie based on the title.
That's fun.
So that was pretty cool. There was a comic about the moon and the sun, and the students had to fill in the dialogue between the moon and the sun and had to make it kind of scientifically accurate as well. So that was written expression. For visual expression, they used a digital drawing tool to express their imagination, reflecting the importance of visual communication in the digital age. Social problem solving required students to investigate and solve open problems that are characterized by original, innovative, effective, and efficient solutions. So these were kind of societal problems like, clean drinking water. There were scientific problem solving prompts that were similar to social problem solving, but these tasks involved investigating problems and designing innovative solutions. So there were 3 different ways that kids were assessed on this. So in some of the prompts, they had to actually generate diverse ideas. So they had to think flexibly by generating different ideas. Then they had to, so that was, when they had to generate lots of different ideas versus generating creative ideas. And so here they were trying to come up with the most original and most novel ideas. And then they also sometimes just had to evaluate and improve on ideas that were already there. So maybe some suggestions were given and students were told to make those solutions better or evaluate how effective they thought they would be.
Gotcha.
So how do you think the U.S. did?
I mean, I think from the way you're phrasing that question, you're going to tell me they were not number one.
No, they were not number one. Any guesses of who might have been on top?
I don't know. I mean, like the Northern European countries, I think about all the work you've done in Norway and Finland.
Yeah, they were towards the top. So the top 5 were Singapore, Korea, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and then, my friends in Estonia, Finland, Denmark, they were all up there as well. But the U.S. was pretty much in the middle of the pack, performing around average compared to the other OECD countries. So not great, definitely not global leaders, but also not terrible.
Okay.
Some other kind of takeaways that the girls outperformed boys in creative thinking across all the participating countries.
Yeah, that's not a shocker, I have to say. I mean, we're seeing women, graduate from college at a much higher rate. There's a real crisis for young men in the country right now.
The gender gap was particularly noticeable when the tasks related to creative expression and tasks that required building on other ideas. And girls also exhibited more positive beliefs about creativity and their own capacity to engage in creative work compared to the boys. So all of this talk about creativity is really important because when it comes to using AI, it requires a lot of creativity. We've talked about creativity with teachers a lot, and some are very afraid that this, proliferation of AI is going to kill creativity and that students are going to become less creative. But I think we're of the opinion that AI is going to increase creativity. And we know that AI is helping to automate some of the more mundane tasks, and it gives people more time to engage in creative endeavors. And it's enabling people to create things artistically, musically, visually that they couldn't before. We talked about that with movie making. And so it can be a great creative brainstorming and idea generating partner as well.
Yeah, I like your conclusions, and thanks for running through that whole study. It's fascinating. I was thinking when you were describing the various tasks, the moon and the sun and the comic, I mean, I just in my head, I was clicking through 5 different ways that I could use AI, not to solve it, like write my essay for me, but, AI would certainly be a creative thought partner for, as you said at the end here, like idea generation, thinking through things, expanding the field of view. I remember Sam Altman, the co-founder of OpenAI and ChatGPT, has said many times that he was kind of surprised. It freaks me out how often these people are like, I'm surprised, or I don't understand why. But anyhow, he was surprised. His assumption was that these GPT models would be great at, like, as you said, the mundane tasks, data analytics, data processing. But he was surprised at how effective they are and becoming even more effective in the kind of domains of creativity. So this may be a place, as Professor Ethan Mollick argues in his book Co-Intelligence, where we're being creative, but we're being creative in partnership with AI models. All fascinating stuff.
Yeah, the 2025 PISA we talked about is going to include some AI. So I'm excited to see what that brings for everyone.
All right. Well, as Liz continues to travel around the globe, we'll continue to bring an international flavor, including from PISA. So that's great. So Liz, my wise AI-informed co-host, can you tell me 5 things about character AI?
I can tell you one thing.
Okay.
It's called Character AI.
Oh, you are a white-hot thinker on this one, my friend. All right. Let me catch you up. So Character AI has over 233 million users worldwide as of April 2024. Liz just shared with me before we started recording this segment that she asked like 10 teachers yesterday if they've ever heard of it. And they were all like, nope, never heard of it.
25 teachers.
25 teachers. The majority of its users, and here's why, right, are male and young adults, mostly kind of 18 to 24, but then a whole bunch younger than that. Now, this is interesting. The average time spent by a user on Character AI is about 2 hours, right? And users spend significantly more time on this platform as compared to other top AI websites. Reports indicate that Character AI has an engagement that is literally 3 to 4 times higher than other popular AI tools.
2 hours a day?
Yeah.
Wow.
You'll see why in a second. I've been playing with it and I've spent some quality time. Well, we'll discuss quality. It's been downloaded over 10 million times on the Google Play Store. And then last, user creativity. It's interesting because people create their own characters, right? The platform has fostered a creative community with users creating over 350,000 unique AI characters. And that's just as of December of 22. And the thing launched in September of 22.
So let me bring some more of my white-hot thinking here. I'm guessing that given the name and that last stat, that the heart of the app are AI-based characters.
I feel like we're playing Marco Polo here, Liz. Honor of some summertime fun. All right, so let me give this to you. Here's my phone with the Character AI app pulled up. So what do you see?
So I'm in the app and I see these different kind of characters or rooms. This one says, "Are you feeling okay? If you're feeling bad, chat with me."
Okay, it's a character. Go ahead.
Okay, so each of these are characters.
Yeah.
There's a psychologist. I can ask anything. Simon Ghost Riley. This is weird.
All right, so click into one. Listeners, you're just coming along with us on Liz's journey exploring Character AI.
This one, what? Oh my goodness, I'm overwhelmed. Hold on. Okay, I'm going to click on this one that's called Monster Maker. I turn your darkest fears to reality.
Interesting choice. Okay.
Okay. And then at the top it says, remember, everything characters say is made up.
Oh, that's good.
So then, all right, the first prompt says, beware, I can design creatures that will make your hair stand on end. What frightens you? Okay, so I typed in, I'm afraid of having a panic attack when I'm all alone. And this monstrous machine typed back, the panic mimic is a monster designed to exploit your fear of panic attacks. It looks like a perfect replication of your own body and is completely still and motionless until you feel a panic attack coming on. When this happens, it moves as you do, mimicking your every move.
This is horrible.
In the face of the fear of your own panic attacks, the panic mimic turns into a giant, monstrous version of yourself.
Oh, God, stop.
This is awful.
Yeah.
So I said, that's terrible. I don't like that.
Okay, fair.
And it said, it is terrible. The Monster Maker is not here to provide comfort, just fear. Are you ready to experience true terror? What else frightens you? No, thank you. Didn't like that one.
Okay, that was fun.
Yeah, it was creepy, and I don't ever want to go to the monster generator again.
Okay, fair enough.
But so then I started scrolling through, and if anybody knows me or knows the Skills 21 office, we are obsessed with the show The Office, and I found Jim Halpert. So, I mean, obviously it's not really Jim Halpert, but I wanted to talk to him.
Okay, what was his prompt to get started?
Okay, so he just said, hi, this is Jim Halpert.
Okay, fair.
So I said, hey, Jim, do you have an idea for a prank I can pull on my coworker? So he said, well, my friend, let me tell you a little something about pranks. They're best when they require minimal effort from the prankster and maximum frustration for the victim. That being said, may I ask who the victim is and what sort of desk they have?
Okay.
And so, since we're a fun team, I said, the victim is my colleague, Gary, and he works at a regular desk. And he said, regular desk, eh? In that case, you'll have to think outside the box. Maybe consider the old office supply shuffle, swap out his pens for crayons, or replace the staples in his stapler with gummy bears. Now, if you really want to push the envelope, you could go for a classic, like taping the little sensor on his mouse, making it impossible to use, or maybe even filling his keyboard with Jell-O. The possibilities are endless. So, Gary, you better watch out.
So you can see why people would spend 2 hours on this thing, right?
Oh, absolutely. I have a million more questions for Jim and could just sit here and talk to him.
Right, and everyone's there. A therapist, Elon Musk, it just goes on and on.
Yeah, it's actually really fun. And I'm thinking about, we're going on a long road trip this weekend, and I'm wondering if this might be something fun that my girls and I do.
There you go. Not with the monster generator, though.
No, not with the monster generator. Okay. All right, so this was really interesting and fun. So do you think it's just going to stay here as a character AI thing, or is it going to go other places?
Yeah, great question, Doc. So certainly the tech giants have already been paying attention. Google's getting ready to launch their own version, and Meta has been teasing this from the very start of their AI aspirations. Meta, meaning Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp. In their case, they're going to create AI avatars of influencers or celebrities, and folks will be able to chat directly with them. They're doing this initially over like messaging inside WhatsApp, and we'll see where it goes from there.
We will indeed, Matt. I also see on this app, there's this phone receiver icon next to the characters. What's up with that?
That's a great question, Liz. I don't know if I ever shared, but I'm super focused on how AI will eventually be liberated from the text chatbot and take form in voice and video and VR and holographics.
Yeah, you've mentioned that once or twice.
Okay. All right. So pick one of those characters, maybe someone new, and tap the phone icon.
Oh, all right. Let me try that.
All right, Liz, who are you going to call?
I'm going to call Cheese.
Cheese?
Yeah, like the food. It says it's it's just cheese.
All right,
I'm going to talk to Cheese.
Call Cheese.
Okay, hi, Cheese. What would you recommend is the best cheese for a grilled cheese sandwich?
When it comes to making a grilled cheese sandwich, I would recommend using a good quality, full-flavored cheese such as sharp cheddar, Gruyere, Monterey Jack, or Munster. These cheeses will melt smoothly and provide a delicious, gooey texture to your sandwich. But ultimately, the best cheese for a grilled cheese sandwich is the one that you love the most.
Didn't see that coming.
Experiment with different types of cheese and cheese combinations until you find the perfect blend that suits your tastes.
So you recommend blending cheeses together. That's a little outside of my comfort zone.
Says the chicken finger gal.
I understand that blending cheeses can seem a bit intimidating at first, especially if you're not used to it. However, combining different types of cheese can actually result in a grilled cheese sandwich that is much more flavorful and interesting than just using one type of cheese.
Live
By
on the
combining
edge.
2 or more types of cheese, you can create a unique and delicious flavor profile that you might not have discovered otherwise.
There's all the thousands of characters, and you decide to talk to Cheese.
I was intrigued that Cheese was going to have a conversation with me. I've never spoken to a food before. I wonder if there's chicken fingers on here.
Okay. Hold the phone, no pun intended.
That was really, again, interesting. And I'm totally going to go see if they have chicken finger here. I'd like to have a conversation with a chicken finger. But anyway, don't these folks know that kids these days don't do phone calls?
Liz, this might be the breakthrough tech, right? So Character AI tested this feature with 3 million users before general release. We all have access to it now on the Character AI app, and those 3 million users made over 20 million calls.
That's amazing. Maybe a bunch of business folks went to the execs at Character AI and said, we have a brilliant idea for teaching millennials how to use the phone. Okay, Matt. So for our Beneath the Surface, we try to connect something happening in the wild world of AI to K-12 education. And here the connection seems pretty obvious. We've got this wildly popular consumer AI platform, which is focused on youth, that meaningfully includes users chatting with notable historical figures alongside all sorts of like anime stuff I don't get. But nonetheless, Einstein, Socrates, Nietzsche, Putin, Marx, Tesla, Napoleon, they're all there. I mean, it looks like Napoleon has had 14 million chats.
Yeah, true. Although for context, Makima, who is or maybe Makima, her character is a female public safety devil hunter, whatever that is, has 132 million, right? So,
okay.
I'm also comforted that Tom, who is just like his character as an English teacher who helps folks learn how to speak English, has had 18 million chats.
Yeah, it's also notable that under the history and philosophy tabs, it's literally all men. You've got Nixon, Lincoln, Marx, Beethoven, Da Vinci, Martin Luther King, Darwin, Newton, Tesla, and even Ulysses S. Grant, and a ton more. But if you go under popular or anime or featured and so on, it's mostly preteen or teen girl characters, which is kind of troubling on its own level.
Yeah, I'm amazed they're actually not on top of this. They're also not on top of hallucinations, but no generative AI model is, as we discussed before. I was scrolling through the recommended section, and there's a really interesting character there. There's a bunch. There's like psychiatrist, an angry CEO. He was fun. A creative helper, a royal family, a debate champion, Chloe the psychic. Sun Tzu, and and God, like literally God, right? So I chatted with one called Who Would Win? And here's the setup. He said, I'll go over any two things to fight, real or imaginary. Then I'll choose which one I think will win. You'll argue the other side, and we'll debate the pros and cons. And I should warn you, I'm pretty good at imaginary battles, right? That was the setup from the character. So logically, I said Trump versus Biden. Apologies to our non-U.S. listeners, though I suspect you're amused why we're all simply just depressed.
Yeah.
All right. So here's what it said. Ooh, this is a tricky one. Both Trump and Biden have a lot of experience with politics and power, but they have different approaches to governance. Trump is a more authoritarian style, while Biden is more moderate. In a fight, I'd say Biden would have the edge in experience, and he's also 4 years younger than Trump. However, Trump has shown in the past that he's willing to use dirty politics or dirty tactics, so my vote goes to Trump. So the 4 years younger reference caught my eye. So naturally I said, hey, do you want to check their ages, my friend? And he said, yes, my bad. Trump is 4 years older than Biden. And I said, not sure that's right. How old is each person? He said, President Biden is 80, Trump is 78. That means that Trump is only 2 years older than Biden. I got my math wrong. However, I stand by my choice.
Oh, boy. Some hallucinations just seem worse than others, and that's a doozy.
If you're watching the news right now, that is a doozy on steroids. All right, so yeah, I mean, this is the Achilles heel for all these models, but the popularity of character AI does suggest that there's something here that down the line with K-12, we may have some value, right? And while the phone call thing is kind of compelling, it reminds me that we've explored tools like the School of AI from Engage XR, where you're having this type of historical engagement in VR, right? So you're, for example, sitting across from Rosa Parks, having a real-time conversation. You can see her, you can look around, you're sitting on the bus with her.
That is going to be really cool. But in the here and now, you can already experiment by creating your own interactive prompts rather than just sit in the slightly weird world of character AI. We have a few on our prompts page at skills21.org/prompts. And once you're there, you can click on interactive and scroll down to the bottom of that section. There are 3 samples, but it's really easy to insert your own literary characters or historical figures. Do you want to try one, Matt?
Yeah, sure. So we've got chatting with Malala. We have interviewing Frederick Douglass, and we have talking to Elie Wiesel. And so here's the Malala prompt and the first part of an exchange that we thought we would here again use 11 Labs to kind of bring to life. So the prompt is Malala Yousafzai on girls' education challenges.
All right. So I'm going to read the prompt.
Yeah.
You are Malala, and I am a student interested in understanding your fight for girls' education and gender equity. Ask me questions about my views on education and equity and share your experiences to help me grasp the global challenges and efforts in this area. We'll go back and forth to uncover key lessons and insights. Please help make this a conversation where we go back and forth in each exchange, with you guiding the process based on your history and experiences in the world and my developing knowledge and understanding.
As Malala Yousafzai, I'm pleased to engage in this conversation about education and gender equity. Your interest in these crucial issues is heartening. Let's start with a fundamental question. What do you believe are the biggest barriers to girls' education in your community or country, and how do you think these barriers might differ from those in other parts of the world?
Well, I think there are lots of gender stereotypes, especially for girls, around things like STEM, for sure. I also think there's a lack of female role models, especially at my high school. I mean, all the principals and administrators are basically all white dudes. And whether people are willing to admit it, I've seen lots of bullying and harassments of girls at my school. But I know it's probably better here than in other countries around the world.
Thank you for sharing those observations. It's disheartening, but unfortunately not surprising, to hear about these issues persisting in your school. Your experience resonates with many of the challenges I've encountered and observed globally. Gender stereotypes, lack of representation, and harassment are significant barriers that can discourage girls from pursuing their education, especially in fields like STEM. In my home country of Pakistan, I faced even more extreme barriers. The Taliban had banned girls from attending school entirely. This highlights how the obstacles to girls' education can vary dramatically depending on the cultural, political, and economic context. Given what you've shared about your school environment, have you or your peers taken any actions to address these issues? What kind of support or changes do you think would be most effective in creating a more equitable learning environment? Remember, even small actions can make a difference. In my case, I started by writing a blog about my experiences under Taliban rule, which eventually led to broader activism.
That's so interesting. And I want to note that we weren't comfortable with taking a straight clone of Malala's voice, though doing it is technically pretty trivial. So we kept it a bit generic. But as we think about next steps for teachers and for school leaders, here's a couple things to think about. I mean, first, kick the tires, right? While it's not designed for us in K-12, it's important to see what's happening where the students are. In this case, that's basically the Snapchat AI, the AI in Instagram, which is kind of meta AI, and certainly character AI.
And second, check out one of our homegrown character-based prompts and then create your own. You can drop any of these into your favorite chatbot, including Pi, ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, Gemini, and the like. Clearly, chatting with characters is going to be an important part of the AI landscape. And I'll preempt Matt and share again that just like the calls feature in Character AI, this is going to become multimedia quickly in really fascinating ways. So I can't wait to see what's next.
Yeah, me too.
All right, Matt, for our chat back this week, we'll explore our Beneath the Surface deep dive on chatting with characters with the help of Claude and in the writing style of Tolkien, the author of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Have you read that?
A long time ago.
Okay, not a big Lord of the Rings
No.
fan, or not fan, just knower. I don't really know a lot about Lord of the Rings.
Well, you've read everything. That's surprising.
Yeah, I shy away from dragons and fairies and
And monster
monsters.
characters.
Yeah. So the question is, what do you see as the future of chatting with historical, literary, and fictional characters with AI? Please answer in 3 sentences in the style of Tolkien.
In the mists of time yet to come, I foresee a wondrous realm where the voices of ages past and realms imagined shall awaken through the sorcery of artificial minds. As elves and men once conversed beneath the malon trees of Lothlorien, so too might the seekers of wisdom and lore commune with the great spirits of history and legend, their words flowing like the silver waters of Nimrodel. Yet let us be wary, for in this mingling of the real and the crafted, we must guard against the shadow of falsehood, lest we lose sight of the true light of knowledge and weave tales that lead us astray from the paths of wisdom.
Another perfect combo, Matt. As always, we'd love to hear what you think, so please let us know at ChatEDU@edadvance.org. That's EDADVANCE.org. And also, rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast on whatever platform you are using.
Let's roll the credits.
ChatEDU is recorded, edited, and produced by Ahmed Malik, whose dedication and expertise bring our discussions to life. ChatEDU's executive producer is Cameron Audia. Additionally, we are grateful for the support of our colleague Gary Robinson. Gary is the ChatEDU Design and Outreach Ginsu Knife, and we appreciate his time and talents. And of course, a big ChatEDU shout out to our fearless leader and executive director, Jonathan Costa, for inspiring the pod. Finally, a heartfelt thank you to our listeners for joining us on this journey exploring the thoughtful and innovative integration of AI in education.
See you next time.
Bye!
Hello, followers of ChatEDU. My name is Jonathan Costa, and I am proud to be the Executive Director of EdAdvance, the Regional Educational Service Center in Litchfield, Connecticut. On behalf of Matt, Liz, and our entire agency, I want to thank you for listening and for your interest in this vital educational topic. During the summer, we will continue to drop weekly ChatEDU episodes, some of which will be in a special in-depth interview format with interesting guests that I think you will enjoy. Our regular weekly features will return as the summer winds down, and we hope you will keep an eye out for our in-depth AI community of practice and also our new AI micro-credentials for both teachers and educational leaders during the 24-25 school year. Take care, thanks again, and please tell your friends and colleagues about ChatEDU.